Here we are at the late autumn, beginning of winter, on a very nice day where I can put sunglasses and a t-shirt, and we're going to see the advancement of the work in the Châtelet, because we started a year ago the restoration of the Châtelet, and we started from the outside. We cut the house in 4 parts, so it's going to be the 4 facades. So the first 3 facades are done, only 1 still to be done, and the interior will be done. So now we finished the outside of 3/4 of the facade. So we're going to see very easily the restoration, the new stones, and we can talk about this right now. So let's go. Here we have the facade that was completely restored, and most of the stones, not all of them, but probably like 30% of them, were too tired, were too old, and a little bit of water went inside because it's shock stones, the stones from the area. So it's not really waterproof and very hard stone. It's a pretty soft one, so the water get in, and with the cold sometimes, and when it's getting freezing, what is happening is actually the water inside is going to get more volume and explode the stones. So it was many stones that needed to be completely replaced. So the problem is to do a facade with a nice aspect, with not like a patchwork aspect. So we need to find a way to make the aspect to be uniform and nice. So what we did, it was to replace a couple of the stones. So now you can really see the result of the facade here. That is pretty stunning, because you can actually read the facade much easier than before, much more easily. And actually you can see the little corniche on the first floor that is very nice, with all the little work to change on the volume of the facade. You can also see, that's very interesting, the big square in the middle. And we actually found on the archives from 1792, the middle of the revolution. The king was not killed yet, but because he died in 1793. And we find the paper saying and ordering to actually destroy all the coat of arms of the castle that was representing all the royalty that was really not fashionable at the time. So we actually see right here, when we restored it, we don't see the coat of arm anymore because it was destroyed, but we see the hammer little marks on the stones from that period, from these people who were like probably very upset of so many years of pressure, and that were very happy to destroy that, to show that royalty was done. Everything was not, of course, as simple as the Marquis de Dampierre, the owner of the house of this time, was actually very for revolution, because he was part of the army that was protecting France from invasion and attack from outside, from the other royalty and kingdoms outside. We wanted to restore royalty inside of France, and the Marquis of Dampierre was actually fighting with the French people to actually defend the Republic. So it was a bit unfair probably to remove his coat of arms on his facade. But still, this is one of the witnesses of history. And about, on a more technical part and a note, we can see here, for instance, that a couple of the stones are completely new. You can see this one. We even still see a little bit of the tools that were used to actually carve it. So we see that from very close, that is not exactly the same texture between two stones, but from far actually looks perfectly fine. Why? Because on top of it, we put a little what we call a lait de chaux. It's like a milk made of a chaux, of this material that gives a little color. And then you put it on top like this. And when it dries, it gives a kind of a uniform patina, and it's going to make it more smooth, and the facade will look uniform, which is like more harmonious. And I'm very happy, because usually chaux is very white, and I was a bit worried. I mean, it's historical, so you cannot do anything, but I was a bit worried that it would be too white and too striking. And actually I'm very happy, because they find a way to make it a little bit more creamy, and I find it more blonde, and it looks more like the Parisian conciergerie where Marie Antoinette was actually kept for a while. And I think it's more soft and more elegant that way, so I'm very happy about it. Here we are on the other side of the facade. So this is a smaller part of the facade. It's the part that is facing the main house. And here is the stairs tower and the other one tower with the entrance of the Chatelet, with the cute little door with all the adornments that are really Gothic. And here you see that the scaffolding is pretty massive and is completely following the curves of the Chatelet. And there is like stairs everywhere, and they start first by cleaning and putting a special product to remove the mold and to remove the lichen and the fungus from the facade. And after they put even little pressure, something like a sand, they sand the facade also to really clean it. And once it's completely clean, they decide which stones are going to change. Most of them are usually the corniche, all the carved parts, because they suffered more because they were closest to the roof. And then they decide which stone they're going to remove. They put numbers on it. Then they come back, they take the exact measurements. They go to the stone specialist. They create one stone that is exactly the good shape. They come back here with a storage of stones that are the perfect match. And they just change each stones that need to be changed. And they can do that like this. They also like a special stone guy that's going to do the little touch-up to make sure it matches. And then they can redo that. And in the end, when everything is good, they finish by doing the joints between the stones. So they need to find the perfect color, so the joints don't show too much, but is present enough to see actually the pattern of the stones. And on top of it, they do the little lait de chaux, as I said before, to make a little pattern that's going to make something more harmonious and nice. So let's go up because there is some change inside. Not so much, but there is. We are going to get back inside. So here, not much change yet. We started cleaning a little bit the graffiti on the wall. Of course, we kept everything with 3D pictures to make sure we can store and keep all these little marks, witness of the past. But of course, I didn't want to have in the staircase having written on the walls that Peter wanted to Maria. You got it. So it was a lot of this because people are really in love in France. So I didn't want to have so much of this in the stairs. We're on the second floor, where it's going to be the future bedroom, my bedroom. And here, I don't know if you remember, but it was the fireplace here, the chimney. And it was very fragile because they probably changed part of the stones on the chimney, on the fireplace. And it was not stable anymore because it was not the one properly done. So they had to change it all. So here it is. They could change all the stones that you can see here. So the fireplace could finally stand. Because if you don't do a perfect stereotomy, it's called, it means like the art and the science of putting the stones together for the stones to stick together. So there's a technique with different curves and different lines and diagonals, and in one way and the other way, to make sure that all the stone stays together and it's stable and it can stay for like 1,000 more years. Also a nice little details. Here was a corbeau supposed to hold the wood part that was here, and the other one was missing. So very easily this stone sculpture from the company of the stone makers did actually the sculpture of a copy of this part, and I was pretty fascinated to see how they could do such a thing. So it's basically it for the Chatelet and the restoration so far. The outside is getting step by step. Facade is done here, the other facade needs to be done. Roof was completely repaired and cleaned, and the windows are on the way. Actually, we received already the little windows, the frames. So I'm very happy because it's the green that I love. Outside is a gray green that is very subtle. From outside it doesn't really show, but it's very soft. And inside it's actually a wood color. The oak color is going to be a bit darker. And of course all the metal work. That is a very nice company in France doing this is called Métaux, and they are very specialized on doing cast iron stuff. And it's going to be a very nice finale. And also it's going to be a couple of, not tinted window, but you know when you have the window is going to be little triangles and little squares made of glass, of course, but circled with a plomb, with metal. So it's going to be that kind of windows here because it was more in the Renaissance and 15th, 16th century style. And now, dangerous part, let's go on the scaffolding. You come with me? Here we are in a pretty interesting place because we are very close to the roof, and there is a little detail. The cornice here is actually the stone one, but on top of it, to protect the under of the roof, they put a little bit of a terracotta like this, doing a little detail with terracotta, ardoise again, and terracotta. So this is really a little detail. You don't really see it from the floor from down, but I think it's pretty subtle and cute. This is all the work, metal work done for aération, for the frame to breathe, and all the toit was done with nails, so you don't see any hooks, except here, where you had to do the junction with the old toiture and the new one. And there's something pretty ugly, but I mean, this is the way. I don't know if you see, but there is a little cable over there, and that turns into a little stripe, a metal stripe that goes all along the facade and go down. And this, we painted it in the color of the facade to make it more discreet. But the reality is this is to make sure that the electricity from the lightning will actually go down on the floor and not electrify any one of us. Let's go a bit more up because I want to see the view from up, and I think it's interesting. And actually we can see a bit of the cornice before we do renovation, and you're going to see the difference. Because this is a cornice once it's completely done and perfectly nice. And there is a cornice just before that. Here you see the cornice that was very damaged. There is holes everywhere, and where they have the red crosses, the stones that need to be completely changed. So most of the cornice will be completely changed. And it's not just a cornice that is a straight stone, it's actually a bit curved too. So all of this will be changed and replaced. So there is a lot of work. But actually when you see the before and after, that's when you understand the size of the job to do. And one of the very nice things about Dampierre is that you have your main house, but in front of your main house, you actually have another house. And you have a view on your house from the other house. It's literally looking at the neighbor when you're living in a city like Paris. And this is pretty rare. Usually you have a castle and you have only one house, and the only point of view you have is with a drone from up. But actually here, from the Chatelet, you have an incredible view on the chateau, and also on the miroir d'eau, that is pretty nice from here, and on the parterre sud that we will see later. Here is one of my future favorite place of the Châtelet. First, they have redone completely the door around, and there's going to be a little door here. And here is a little room where I wanted to do a little chapel. I'm not really a religious person, but I wanted to do a chapel for nature. So it's not going to be religious, but it's just going to be a place where to think and meditate and think about nature and how incredible nature can be. So I wanted to put a statue over there of a faun or something representing the nature, and I wanted to do also a little herbier, which is like herbs, and to paint it on the wall, all the little herbs of Dampierre, and to show like the faun and the flora and the flora of Dampierre that exist, and I wanted to do a little place to celebrate that. So we don't really see anything right now, but this is part of the project, so hopefully soon I will show you everything.